Hey there guys, welcome back to Dad Play Stuff and another Daemon X Machina Outer Challenge, and probably the last one for the next little while. Now before we get into it, please leave a like, a comment and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and I really appreciate when people take the time to do that. Now as you can see on screen, the fight for today is going to be Dominator. Now it's just the basic Dominator from the main story, it's not alpha or beta version. It's still difficult. It's possibly one of the most RNG laden fights in all of the game because of certain mechanics that he uses and certain things. It feels like you can't always dodge the abilities. So it's not the kind of thing I expect you to be able to do in one go unless you get very lucky and are very, very vigilant. So yeah, it's a difficult fight and it had me pulling my hair out a little bit. There's not much left of that hair in the first place, so you know, yeah, it hurt. Now onto the strategy. So first off, I would drop down to the very bottom of the room. The reason for this is, whilst in the air, Dominator is a lot more mobile, and when you bring him down to the ground, he's a lot easier to predict. You don't have to deal with as many planes of movement. He can only go up, left or right, back, forward, all that kind of thing. Whereas if you're fighting him in the air, he can go below you, you could go below him, all sorts of things like that. If you bring him down to the ground level, he is a lot easier to deal with. Now, I've said this once, I've said it a million times for all the other boss fights. Staying still is going to get you killed, especially against the Dominator. He has several attacks that basically will liquefy you. He has essentially a cannon, and you'll see that by it's basically looks like yellow beams flying out of him. I don't know if it's meant to be a bullet weapon or whatnot, but it's incredibly fast, and if you are basically in range of it, you're gonna get hit. It's sometimes feels like I can't avoid it. I'll be dodging to the left, I'll be dodging to the right, and I'll just get hit by it anyway. It comes out incredibly fast, and yeah, try and avoid if you can. Out of all the abilities, it's the most annoying one. Next up, we have his charged lasers. Now, these come in different forms. The first is from the two main guns that he's got on the front of his body. He'll fire the lasers and just if they hit you again, you're gonna take a lot of damage. They do track you as well, so when these come out, you need to get as close to his body as possible and try and get behind him, because he obviously can't shoot you from behind. However, sometimes, on occasion, the little guns that are around the ring that's stationary on his body will fly off and fire lasers from other directions, which at times will instantly hit you from an angle you're not expecting. Sometimes they'll actually cut off your path as you're trying to evade another laser. So these ones are very frustrating as well, and the only real way to avoid them is to destroy the guns and get as close to the Dominator himself and again get behind them. He can't hit you with the main ones if you're behind them, and a lot of the time the ones that are attached to his body won't be able to hit you from behind either, unless they flew off and fired at you from a weird angle. Next up we have the spin attack. Now when he uses this, he's going to charge towards you. Best thing to do, dodge to the left, dodge to the right, just get out of his way. Usually after he's stopped the first charge, he'll then proceed to do a second one. He does get caught on the landscape sometimes, and you can use the yellow barrier to basically stop him dead in his tracks. He can't cross there. Now, the thing to be aware of is after he's finished his charge, do not get close to him. He basically causes a shockwave to finish off the spin, and that can, again, deal damage. So you don't want to get close to him, so just basically shoot him. If you're behind the yellow barrier, you can pretty much just shoot him in the face. When he hits his fractal stage, he will charge 3 times. It's at the fractal stage you need to use that yellow barrier. You're not going to be fast enough to avoid him any other way. So get behind the yellow barrier and basically fight him next to it at all times. It makes the fight doable, because once he hits his fractal stage, he is so much faster and so much more annoying. Now once he gets to about 75% health, he'll start using his gravity gun. This, for a while, makes the fight a lot easier, because when he's using that, he can't be using his really cheap laser attacks, or the ones that just come out and whack you without even you seeing it coming. So at this point, just pummel him with damage. Now, whenever your blitz weapon starts overheating, remember to start using the alternate fire mode in order to keep it from overheating, and you can then consistently keep damage up throughout the fight. Now, once he hits his fractal stage, he mixes things up a little bit. He gets an extra move where he summons 2 big laser things that then blast one of those massive overpowered lasers that most of the bosses in the game use. The best thing to do is to destroy these cannons, because if you don't, what will happen is they then either go up into the air or land on the ground and then proceed to fire down or up at you with these big lasers. It's just more stuff to avoid, basically. This also gives you the opportunity to damage his body more, because these laser things die really quickly and then you can just shoot his body, and while he's doing that, he isn't doing any of his other moves. At this point, he starts using a combination of all the moves that we've previously discussed, and the only real way to fight him at this stage is to basically bait him over to the wall. Now, what I usually found is once you destroy his 2 laser cannon things, he goes straight into a charge attack, which is perfect because you destroy the lasers, fly over to the yellow barrier, he runs straight into it, and you can just barrage him from a safe distance, which is a bit cheap, but at the end you're offered little to no advantage in this fight, and he still is fully able to kill you via other methods like his laser cannons and his charge lasers and his random bullets that he fires out of his body. Now, when it comes to this fight, it's one of the most RNG laden, irritating, annoying, frustrating things ever. You're not going to be able to just go in and do this strategy and win without fail. This strategy is going to give you the best chance of being able to fight him on, I would say, an even keel, but it's really not even. He's so much stronger than you. However, it's going to give you a good chance. What I'd say is there's a couple of mistakes that you might end up making. For example, if he uses a charge attack and hits the barrier, and you're on the inside of the barrier, he is then able to immediately charge, sometimes at very close range, and hit you immediately. So if you are next to the yellow barrier and he goes into that charge attack, make sure you're on the outside of the area, because if you're not, more often than not, he's just going to go straight into you and you're not going to be able to react quick enough. It's just the unfortunate thing I found from experimenting with this fight. The other advice I'd give is that if you're wanting to do it, don't give up just because you get shot down a couple of times instantly going into the arena. As I said, some of his laser attacks and some of his like cannon attacks, they just seem to come out of nowhere and have the most ridiculous accuracy. It's almost as if you can't dodge them. If I'm honest, I feel like maybe Dominator is designed so that some of his attacks are unavoidable, but I could be wrong. I could be just missing something. But to me, it just felt like there was no way that I was going to be able to get out of the way of them sometimes, which is why I'm saying it's a heavily RNG-based fight. If you end up going through the first phase, where the majority of the time he's using nothing but his, not charge lasers, but just the kind of blast attacks with the cannons, you're going to have a lot harder a time than if he's constantly using the charge lasers, because at least you can see the point of origin with them. At least you can see the beam coming and you can try and evade it. Sometimes it isn't always possible, but at least you've got a fighting chance. So a lot of the time with these fights where I was doing really well, I was kind of trying to bait a certain type of attack before I engaged them. So if you see him using his charged lasers, and use the pillar in the middle to kind of gauge the fight before you rush in the first time, then you can kind of go in more favourable terms rather than going in and then he just hits you with 2 unavoidable attacks. So that's me waffled on for long enough. Now, thank you very much for watching, especially if you've managed to make it to this point without skipping ahead. And if you have, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, especially if you know any easier way of doing this. I mean, I've experimented with it, I found what works for me. So yeah, leave a comment down below what you think, and catch us next time for the next Daemon X Machina video. Whether it's an outer challenge one or not, we'll see.